So today we're going to look at angles in parallel lines. Parallel lines first are these lines that are equal distance apart, but they're always shown with these arrows on to tell us they are parallel. And then often, well, we can find angles if we've got a straight line, sorry, that wasn't very straight, that goes through the parallel lines, and this is called the transversal line. And these lines are called alternate, co-interior, or corresponding. So if we look at alternate first, so alternate are ones that make this sort of shape. So they're different sides of the transversal line, but both inside. We could have that the other way. So they're both different sides of the transversal line, but inside. So here is an example. We can see it's alternate because we have that shape of the Z on it, but we never call them Z angles. They're always alternate. That is our keyword, alternate. So alternate angles are always equal. So if this one's 50, then this one is also 50 by alternate angles, and that's the reason we would give. Okay, next one, corresponding. So corresponding, we can see the shape of those. So the shape on that is this sort of F shape, and that is they're both either above and on the same side of that transversal, they're both below and on the same side of that transversal, but there's those 4 different ways we can recognise those. But they're always on the same side of the diagonal line, but either both above or both below the parallel lines. So on this one, these are corresponding, so X is 120 because of corresponding angles are equal. My next one is co-interior, and this is slightly different. So co-interior are where they're both on the same side, but both inside. So these add up to 180. These are not the same, they add up to 180. So for example, if this one is 40, I can see they're co-interior. They're both on the left and they're both inside those parallel lines. So I can see that if I subtract 40 from 180, X must be 140 because of the co-interior angles, also known as allied or complementary. Here's another example, but this one, I can see that these do not add to 180. Therefore, these lines are not parallel. They are not parallel, as actually they should be co-interior if they were parallel. So if it was 120 and 60, they'd be parallel, but they are not. They do not equal 180. Okay, here is our example. So I've got a few things that we need to spot here. So the first one I'm looking for is where that 62 is. I can spot this is that corresponding angle. So that means that is 62. So I've got my 62 there. I'll get rid of that for us. So now if I look at this theta, this missing angle, I can spot an alternate angle there with that other line. But that is the entirety of this angle, so I need to add them together first. So if I add them together, the entirety of that angle is 118. So that means the entirety of this angle will also be 118 because alternate angles are equal.